Welcome to Bold Talk series where creativity, leadership, ideas, and innovation come together. My name is Ludvik, and today I have a privilege to have a short one-on-one conversation with Oane, co-founder at Deepstash. Vlad, great seeing you, and welcome to our Bold Talk series. How are you?
Yeah, it's good to be here. Can't wait to chat with you. So things are good in this part of the world.
That's great, man. That's great. Great to hear that. Hey, Vlad, give us an overview of Deepstash and what made you start Deepstash at today's time that we're living, where the innovation technology is taking shape in everyone's life. So,
Yeah, in a previous life, I was involved with social media, specifically like big data analytics and tracking what people are talking online. I've been doing that for 10 years. I had a startup, I was acquired, and I was part of a larger company, tracking what people are talking about online, whether it's, I don't know, Twitter, Facebook. We were kind of like an NSA for the marketing department. So I got to see how the sausage is made. I interacted with all the social media players. And after 10 years in the industry, I got kind of bored. And also, I didn't like the industry that much. So I was thinking that this social media, it's not turning out to be how I imagined. It's not such a positive change for society. So as I was working in the industry, I also saw the importance of infinite learning and um, how amazingly effective the people who kept a humble mindset and always learning and collecting information were to the society, to the company that I was part of, so on and so forth. So I had this idea, me and my co-founder then, we had this idea of um, turning our attention to adult education, sharing information, knowledge management. And because we were coming from a social media background, see if we can make the whole experience social. So that's kind of that was the seed behind Deepstash. We started like 4 years ago, and yeah, it's going pretty well. We have 3 million users across the world using us. We are now a social, I would say, the leading social curation service where people use this fancy mobile app to capture ideas that they get from books, podcasts, and they share it with their friends and their fans. And our app works like a social media app, but instead of giving you like fake news and getting you angry every day, it's giving you ideas that are meant to inspire and improve your life.
that's awesome, man. I love positive things that people are working on, and we should definitely pay a lot more attention to positivity, and sometimes it just bothers me so much because this type of a negative narrative is like taken everywhere in every single mass media all across in every single nation, and it's like, why
Yeah.
can't we just have some positive news in the mass media? But I'm really glad that you're doing your part, and if every individual out there in the world does its own part, we'll be in a much better place today.
Yeah, we're trying.
Yeah, no, you're doing great stuff. So, Vlad, how are you different from other platforms? Like, is there any direct competitor in your field?
Well, we don't have direct competitors, but we do have companies that are dancing around the same subjects, if you will. So clearly, we are. I would say we're quite complementary to all the note-taking tools out there, and there are a ton of amazing ones. Um, like all the major phone manufacturers come with pretty default good ones. And yeah, we play nicely with those because a lot of the content that ends up on Deepstash originates in those sort of tools. I would say in terms of consuming the content, we are quite similar to apps that focus on summarization. There are quite a few of them focused on books. And of course, in terms of the interaction and how content is being recommended, we're quite similar to an app like TikTok, although I would say the purpose is fundamentally different. So yeah, it works and behaves like a social media app, but when you look at the content, is fundamentally different.
Mm.
So we are a unique type of uh, company with a new type of product. I don't think there is one who's trying to do what we are doing, but that doesn't mean that people have to start from scratch. We are borrowing a lot of good ideas from other types
Mm.
of apps.
Yeah, yeah. Now, without leadership, nothing gets done properly. Vlad, you worked in a larger company, you got acquired before. How do you define your leadership style and what principles guide your decision making?
Um, yeah, that's a good question. I would say that probably other people would be able to define my style better than I could. There are some values that I try to live by, and people that work with me hopefully emulate or aspire to. eh, I'm going to focus on one because this is pretty unique to the product that I'm working on right now, Deepstash. And is this idea of trying to model around human behavior. So when you build a consumer product like ours, especially around, I don't know, positivity, language learning in general, um, you can come up with some biases like what people want or talk to them and believe them and stuff like that. And what I discovered is that that is a very hard thing to do. And whenever you have an idea for how a class of users would react to a specific feature or, I don't know, notification or email or whatever, you kind of have to expect that that is wrong. And the way to validate it is finding a way in which to test that hypothesis very, very fast. So you can learn how stupid you are in a very short amount of time. So what that means in practice is that you have to be humble whenever a brilliant idea comes in, and the default is like, how can we test it? How do we know for sure that this is the right path? So the sort of company that creates and the sort of team that creates is a team where there is a sense of urgency, because nobody wants to work on things that might not work. So everyone is trying to figure out, like, is this the right thing to actually be working on? How can we find out? We have this brilliant idea. Is it brilliant? Like, let's bring some data. So if you were to step into our offices, you will see people who are doing experiments, who are debating, who are it's quite of a intellectually competitive environment where people are fighting with ideas and they're trying to prove it with data. Um, so yeah, that's one of the things that I would say characterizes how I'm doing things.
That's great, man. Now, what role do you believe innovation plays in driving growth and staying competitive in today's market? Obviously, a lot of people I think they today they abuse the word innovation. I'd
Yeah,
love to hear from your side, like what role does that play in you?
it's crucial. I think as a society, if we don't have growth, we're gonna fight and we're gonna have war and poverty and stuff like that. So growth is the society's savior, and constant growth. We have to go and get infinite energy, colonize planets, colonize the whole universe. There's no stop to this, and this is the only way where we can have, I don't know, peace and happiness and stuff like that. And the only way we can do that is through innovation. And I agree with you. It's such an abused term. A lot of people confuse it with invention or all sorts of like bureaucratic agencies and stuff like that. When I talk about innovation, I mean like true innovation where entrepreneurs are putting their skin in the game to do some change that they want to see in the world. And I think it's fundamental. As you mentioned, the trend right now, um, I'm not very optimistic. I see that the world is kind of going the other way around, where we're talking about, I don't know, centralization, and everyone is worried about safety and making sure that nothing goes wrong. And all the entrepreneurs are bad people by definition. So I see like there's this anti-innovation trend, and let's put a break on everything and have like a status quo that we can maintain forever. I think that's a mistake. I think we should innovate, be bold, create, shake things up. But yeah, I'm doing my part. You're doing your part. Hopefully, we can go the other way around.
Yeah. Well, it's really it amazes me, because God has given us a sight that we can see, and we can see as far as stars, right? And we can see how much we have, what abundance we have there, but we're still fighting, and we're still operating under the scarcity mindset.
Yep,
You look at, for
exactly.
example, the economy. We bought this idea that, well, the economy has to be in a recession. We bought this idea that there's a scarcity of certain resources in this planet. When I look at like how abundant this world is and how abundant God is, that's given to people. He's
Yep,
given us everything, and he's always creating something. There's always a new creation happening in the world
yeah,
today. So I like that idea of you of we always have to think about growth, because without growth, really, we are just going and dying. How can we change that to the world? I mean, you're doing your part, I'm doing your part, but is there probably a better way for us to bring this message across to people out there? And
it's hard. I've been thinking about it. If you The depressing thing is, if we look into history, whenever we had periods like that where, I don't know, people emphasize stagnation and calm and tranquility, we got revolutions and I don't know, all sorts of nasty things. So I would say, yeah, history does not give us hope. Of course, we have to hope that this time would be different, and this is just a bump in the road, and we're gonna continue to innovate and not stumble on silly things. Yeah, but to be honest, I don't have a solution how to change the mindset of millions of people across the world. I'm in Europe right now, and as you know, like Europe is claims to be very pro innovation, but innovation in regulation and taxation and things like
yeah,
that, which I wouldn't say are what I would put in the innovation category. US is kind of doing the same things. Deficits are running rampant, and somebody has to fund those. I don't feel like people want to get rid of all the benefits that they have accumulated over the decades. It's a complicated issue. I don't know what the way out is. Do you
yeah.
have any ideas, by the way?
Well, you mentioned about centralization, right? It's really interesting because I've been studying all these kind of cycles, that we the society has been living over the past like centuries. And when you look at, for example, the way how we humans the best operate, we operate under the decentralized, because we're all spiritual beings first, and
Yeah,
so God create us unique creation. He did not create us all as a one
yeah,
humans, right? And so I think this kind of centralization has been going on for centuries, and I think we are now we're in a crossroad where people are start to be more awakened. So that's my hope. When I see, for example, before COVID and when COVID happened, after COVID, things have changed a lot in people's mindset. People are start to be much more aware of like, hey, listen, something is not right here, you know, where before like people were like, I myself, I was like before COVID, I was like, I didn't even know, not even like 90% of the truth that I know today, you know, but that woke me up.
I hope so. Although I was so surprised by how quickly people let
Forget.
go of their basic freedom overnight. It was like you're locked in home and you cannot leave your own home. And
Yeah,
we somehow accepted it. And you can't travel and you can't do this, and we're gonna
yeah,
survey you. And if you were to told us like a month prior that all these basic freedoms will be taken away overnight, we would say like, no, it would be a revolution that cannot happen. And
yeah,
then
yeah.
we
And it
accepted it
happened.
overnight and nothing happened. So I would like to be as optimistic as you and be like, oh, man, that was something that will never happen again. But on the other hand, it did happen, and it was quite unopposed.
Well, you know, it's what I learned from it. I learned that people do not want to take accountability. So that's what I learned. I also learned that people have a short memory. So, you know, now like people completely forgot, like nothing happened. Like I can't forget that, you know, that's like you told me to lock it. I cannot even touch a human being for like a days. Are you kidding me? You know,
Exactly.
you can bring that back again to me, you know. But anyway, this is really interesting. There's so much to talk about that, but I would love to have another great conversation with you. But let's go to the focus in terms of like as an entrepreneur, because you know, as an entrepreneur you always trying new things, right? And so what is your approach to failure first? Because I think this is the issue with the Europeans. Like I spent a lot of time in Europe and you know in US and also in Asia. And for example, Asians are risk like really they don't want to take any risks. Like they
Mhm.
want to see like everything's been proven in North America, tested and run to whole different markets in Europe. Then they'll go and take it. But that is changing a little bit in Asia too. Tell me about your approach to failure when trying new things, and what is your approach to failure?
Well, failure should be expected, and you should. I'm expecting that most of my ideas are not going to work by default. There's this saying that is quite relevant, which is that no idea, no feature, no product survives first contact with the customer. Then the challenge is to take that failure as a lesson and tweak it and try again and tweak it and try again and try to go from failure to failure with optimism and excitement. And that's kind of what we should do as entrepreneurs, to first to keep our mental sanity, and also to inspire the troops who are looking at you to see if you're stressed. It's pretty much like whenever there's a turbulence in an airplane, everyone is looking at the stewardess to see how they are reacting. If they are stressed, then you're stressed, you know.
Yeah.
If they look chill, then yeah, you should probably relax. There's nothing to worry about. So I would say we entrepreneurs are kind of like the stewardess when it comes to failure. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's important to also get surrounded by people who kind of share the same enthusiasm for figuring things out. If you are to work with, I don't know, people who demand like a lot of like calm job stability, a job description, and I want to make sure that today is not much different than yesterday, and tomorrow it's pretty much the same as yesterday or today. Then yeah, there's not much we can do. So I'm
Yeah.
lucky enough to be able to find people who look at failure as a lesson learned, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to do any of the things that I'm doing.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. Vlad, what emerging technologies or trends are you most excited about?
You can't not be excited about AI. I think as it's quite exciting. I mean, um, it's amazing how fast we went from 0 to 1 in terms of public perception. As a technologist myself, I've been following AI for the past couple of decades, and I had no idea that we're gonna turn from, I don't know, let's just say a computer engineer pet project to something that might transform the world. So AI, going back to our macro conversation, depending on how fast we are able to adopt AI as society, that might be the saving grace. But we'll see. So yeah, I'm excited about AI. We're doing a lot of AI working at the Deepstash. Philosophically, I'm attracted to crypto and Bitcoin because yeah, I like decentralization. I don't like the idea of, I don't know, government controlling the money supply and things like
Yeah.
that. So yeah,
But does that worry you that the that will be hijacked and make it centralized? It is much easier. For example, when you look at, for example, like the money, right? You look at the history of actually the history of currency, because I had the other day I was telling to my family, I said, anyone knows the difference between money and currency? And a lot of people
yeah,
don't know the difference between money and currency, right? And
yeah,
today we're living in a world that the central bankers, they are phasing out their own product, which is the fiat currency, and they're rolling out the CBDCs, and not many people are aware of it. But to me, it is very easy to control society in a way, the way how you want to control it, if you're going to roll out something like CBDC that are completely automated, completely programmable. So does
yeah.
that worry you that this is going to go even further into centralization?
Of course. I mean, the idea that we're gonna adopt digital fiat money, yeah, it's like a nightmare scenario for me. um, and that's already like such a dangerous idea. But what makes it terrifying is, as you mentioned, the fact that most of my peers are not aware that this is happening. And when given the news, they don't
Yeah,
react like, "Oh my God, this is the worst thing in the world." It's like, well, it's like my credit card, but I don't know, the
yeah,
government can wire me money directly or stuff like
yeah,
that. So
yeah.
I can probably pay my taxes faster. So what's the big deal?
Mm.
And then you have to, in order to debunk that reaction, you have to spend quite a lot of time in, yeah, the difference between money and fiat money, and like who owns the money, and the idea
Yeah,
that
it's amazing.
your money is rented money and things like that. And then it turns into a philosophy course.
Yeah.
And yeah, ain't nobody got time for that. That's
Hey,
why
Vlad.
probably in Deepstash it's cool that a lot of these ideas are fast and you can
That's
swipe through them in 5 minutes.
Vlad. Listen, I love to have a great conversation with you. I can see that there's a lot more to talk, but we'll leave for next time. What does bold mean to you, the word bold?
I can have many meanings. In the context of this interview and what I'm working on right now, I would associate it with curiosity. I would say being curious is a underutilized superpower.
Mm.
And if you are curious, that also gives you like a humbleness to find the truth. And yeah, probably being bold means to also have the courage to say the truth when you find it.
Nice.
But yeah, not a lot of that happening in this day and age.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully more boldness will come
Let's
from
do
people
it.
watching this
Amen.
interview.
Amen to that. Listen, Vlad, great having you here. Always be bold, bold. Congratulations to all your great achievement. Thank you for joining me in this bold talk series, and looking forward to another great conversation. Maybe next time we do a long format. We'll pick probably one particular topic. We'll go deep on that. Until next time, take care, be great, and be bold always.
Peace.